What's going on, guys? Samuel Monster Productions here, back with another video for you all today. And this is going to be start a series of videos where I'm going to go back at the last like 5-6 years and top my favorite movies of the 2020 so far. You know, there already have 25, but that'll be fun to do. In this video, I'm going to talk about 10 films I think are the most surprising films I saw in 2020 so far. This is actually going to be, aside from my last pick, this is going to be in any order. I just thought it'd be fun to talk about films that generally surprised me when I first saw, like films that, in one way or another, I didn't have much anticipation going into it, but one that really surprised me. Hell, most of these films ended up being some of my favorite movies to come out those years. And it could be a lot of things. It could be from a sequel that no one's excited for, had certain stitches where you're like, really? Or most importantly, the marketing just didn't do a good job of marketing the movie. Excuse me. And for me, I always like to be surprised when it comes to watching movies. I always like not have much patience and end up being really surprised. And it was actually hard to pick like just 10 movies honestly, so me and my mind do a part 2 in the future because there was a lot of movies that did surprise me in this decade so far. So I hope you enjoyed. Definitely let me know your most surprising movies of the decade down below. And all that being said, let's discuss the 10 most surprising movies I saw in the 2020 so far. And the first movie I'm going to talk about is, I'm not sure whether it's going to be a surprise or not, but I'm talking about Spider-Man No Way Home. Yeah, I don't think I was actually that excited for this Spider-Man movie, mostly because it felt like it was going to make the same mistakes that, Spider-Man 3 and Spider-Man 2 made, where it felt like it was going to cram so much villains and so much stuff into one movie. And the way to see him not having, like, Doctor Strange mess up a spell when Peter Parker tries to get everyone to forget what happened, get his identity and everything, which again leads to basically a mishap, and then leads to all the past villains from the Raimi movies and the supposedly Garfield movies coming back as well. It's like, really going that route? I feel like it's doing more nostalgia pandering, honestly, and like, even with these possible hearing that, oh my god, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield here, it's like, yeah, I wasn't that excited for it, honestly. I don't think a lot of people weren't either. But shockingly, No Way Home ended up becoming a big success. Like, I actually always go back and forth where I think this or Spider-Man 2 is my favorite. And then that alone is what put this movie on this list. That I think it might be being the best Spider-Man movie, where I think it's better now than Spider-Man 2. And No Way Home is an incredible movie that pays respect to both Ivan and Spider-Man, that bases the live-action Spider-Man's first movie we wanted, and the nostalgia stuff I thought was going to be like a big detriment ends up becoming a big bright light in the movie, big positive in the movie. And I was able to still have a really grand story with Tom Holland's character. And of course, well, admittedly, the way they got to it is a bit flimsy, I'm not going to lie. Once you get past that, we get an incredibly emotional Spider-Man story. We have some of the most emotionally poignant moments in any Spider-Man movie. Get some incredible action set pieces. You can see these past villains is, oh, it does put a big amount of face. You can see Willem Dafoe return as Green Goblin, see Alfred Miller turn as Octavius, you've seen Sandman, even seen the Lizard, though mainly I think he's a bit unutilized, and even seen Electro. It's great. I think those characters are at least more utilized than they were in the Amazing Spider-Man movies, and I'm someone that's never really been a fan of those movies. Excuse me. So it's awesome seeing them actually very well utilized in this movie. And of course, what also helps is the fact that, we got Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. Which again, I remember like, oh my god, like, unfortunately, it's one of the things that I did kind of knew going into it, unfortunately. Like, it's one of the things I wish it wasn't so spoiled already. Because that would have been one of the most exciting, most fangastic moments ever. Like, it already was, honestly, but it could have been so much more. It's one, like, it was a credit seeing, like, 2 past Spider-Man, and this made me appreciate Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man movies and his portrayal so much more, honestly, especially with that final battle in general. So, yeah. And we get Tom Holland's best acting performance as Spider-Man in general. Again, probably the next movie is probably going to be, like, an actual street-level Spider-Man movie, so it's going to be interesting to see what they take the story after the ending. But again, the fact that No Way Home actually is in the base Spider-Man 2 as the best Spider-Man movie, that alone puts it on this list. And the second movie we're talking about is another that, admittedly, well, it's not a great movie in general. I don't think anybody was, well, they're definitely maybe a little bit excited for it. These type of movies don't usually get the best rap, and that is Bad Boys for Life, the third Bad Boys movie. And again, I don't know, people really expect much from a third Bad Boys movie. And again, the first two Bad Boys movies are really great movies, honestly. I'm someone that actually enjoys Bad Boys 2 probably more than most people, for being honest. And the original is definitely great with Will Smith and Ron Lawrence having magnetic chemistry, like some of the best comedic chemistry ever. And we've been for a lot of rumblings about a third Bad Boys movie for years, and it probably came out in 2020 and the pandemic. So people are like, and they're usually like long-awaited sequels usually don't really get the best reputation, honestly. And I don't think the trailers didn't do much well either. But lo and behold, the movie came out, and even I was shocked at how much I love this movie. So it definitely is, might be the best Bad Boys movie that we have gotten. Again, the Will Smith and Ron Lawrence still have magnetic comedic chemistry, having so many great moments, but it actually has a layer of heart and emotion that I was not expecting. Excuse me. I feel like I burped every time this video, but even I was not expecting a lot of the amount of like charm and greatness that this movie was delivering, and it really did deliver so much heart and so much gravitas toward. Basically, had a lot of heart and emotion that I expected, allowing me to have like some great action set pieces, like really compelling villain, and some fantastic directing in general. So I actually was excited for the next Bad Boys movie, which came out last year, which I also really enjoyed as well. Like, Bad Boys is surprisingly a consistent franchise, actually. So I'm actually excited for whenever the next one ends up coming out. To whenever next one. I think the Bad Boys, I'm not sure when I'm getting the next Bad Boys movie, but honestly, if it keeps being this consistent as it is, I'm on board. And For Life definitely is a slam dunk, and again, it's the best of the franchise, and I was not expecting it to be going into it. But lo and behold, it actually is the rest of the franchise. And it's a movie that continues to get better every time I watch it. The third movie we're talking about here is actually Terrifier 2. And I'm calling Terrifier 2 on this list. And again, it's both ways to me, because I know a lot of people did love the original Terrifier, but I wasn't expecting much going into it, if I'm being honest, which, to be fair, I'm pretty sure a lot of people didn't hear from this movie. Like, it was saying this movie was actually being made, honestly, because I know this movie was in development for a long time, and it got the money it deserved and everything. I don't remember all the details at the moment, but basically, I wasn't expecting much going into the movie, honestly. Again, I mean, too bad I didn't see much trailers, honestly, but I wasn't expecting really much. Like, I actually did see the original before it came out, and it was decent. I wasn't, like, in love with the first Terrifier like everyone else seems to. Like it's not bad by any means, and I do think that has a good moment, and Arthur Clown definitely had potential to be a compelling horror villain. I don't know, it just felt too grimy and too, well, I guess that was kind of the point, but I just felt like a film I don't ever see myself come back to. But then I watched Terrifier 2, and I was instantly hooked. Like, truthfully, if it wasn't for the fact that the film was a bit too long, it probably would have made my best films of 2022, honestly. It would have made that list. And again, 2022 was already an amazing year for horror movies, so that's saying something. But Terrifier 2 really surprised me how much I enjoyed it, how much I really enjoyed the brutal kills, the actual compelling story, and Arthur Clown actually being part of the next big horror icon, and for good reason. With the actor adding Dear House Jordan does an excellent job portraying him. Damien Leone's also incredible directing as well. Again, the kills were just brutal in the best possible ways. And we also have one of the best final girls in recent memory in Sienna, played by the amazing Lauren Rivera, who's probably one of the next big up-and-coming actresses. Like, she's one of the actors I'm pretty sure in anything she's involved in, I'm gonna love. Hell, I actually met Lauren Rivera last year at a Comic-Con. Back in West when I was still in Worcester. Yeah, I actually met Lauren Rivera. I wish the answer was a little bit better, honestly, but to be fair, it was a weird thing in general, so. And it's also kind of weird being a celebrity. But yeah, the fact I got to meet Lauren Rivera was an incredible experience. She was very kind and very welcoming, and she's an actress I'm always going to keep my eye on. But yeah, the movie was great, the directing was fantastic. Again, if it wasn't about that it was a bit too long, it would have made my favorite films of the year. And of course, a couple years later, we got Terrifier 3, which actually is my favorite of Terrifier movies, actually. I think that movie actually did make my best films that year, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I definitely consider myself a Terrifier fan, especially after this movie. Again, it's one I wasn't expecting much going into it, but it wound up surprising me. Oh, and also, spoiler, this is not going to be the first horror movie you're going to see on this list, because there are definitely some horror movies that came out this decade that I was not expecting to love at all, but lo and behold, I ended up loving them. And the next film on top of number 4 actually got from that not being a cultural phenomenon when it came out. Like I was there when the movie was a cultural phenomenon. But yeah, I won the loving end. That is Barbie. Yeah, this goes around time. Like I'm pretty sure you all remember the whole Barbenheimer situation, but I'm pretty sure all of it, the Barbenheimer was gonna be the better movie, honestly. And yet to this day, I actually still don't know where I like Barbie or Oppenheimer more. To a point where I actually put them both together on my best films of 2023 list. And I was not very much from Barbie going into, because it's Barbie, honestly. I've never really been a Barbie person, obviously. It's more for girl stuff. It's more like females anyway, if I remember correctly. Yeah, what I'm trying to say here is I didn't have much excitement for this movie at all. It felt like a weird choice to make a live-action Barbie movie, even with Greta Gerwig directing, even with some talented people like Margot Robbie or Ryan Gosling, and having some also talent in general. But lo and behold, I saw the movie, and I loved every second of it. If I watched it a few times since it came out, then I actually enjoyed it a lot more. Mostly because of the messaging it tries to display that's told, well, maybe a little bit ham-fisted, more so in your face at times. I still think it does deliver it very well. Come on, Margot Robbie delivering an excellent performance, Ryan Gosling pretty much stealing the show, and having some incredible music. I'm Just Ken is one that always stuck in my head, and I also do love a lot of songs here in general, like, like Just Dance Night by Dua Lipa, and of course, probably Beyonce's best song in What Was I Made For. Like, that song brings me to tears every time I hear it. But that with incredible directing, incredible visuals, and again, some surprisingly deep and emotional moments. Yeah, this movie gets better every you watch, honestly. I still debate whether or not it's one Oppenheimer, which is why I put them both together on my best films of 2023 list. And I still will do that, honestly. Now we get to the next, another horror movie on this list, and that is Saw X. That's great. I'm going to go about the other horror movie as well, and that is The First Omen. Yeah, I'm talking about two horror movies. That one came out in 2023 and one came out in 2024. And I was not excited for these movies at all. And they wound up surprising me how good they were. In Saw X, again, I've never really been the biggest Saw person. I mean, I used to love the franchise when I was like, there was a point in my life where I used to be really into horror movies. And Saw was definitely a franchise I was, like, really in love and really just invested in. And now I think it's a franchise I do enjoy, but it definitely had some hits and misses for sure. And the movie that was the difference between the first two movies would tell like it's gonna be actually cash grabs. And it wound up being my favorite of the Saw movies. By actually, focusing on Jigsaw, which, lo and behold, a Saw movie actually focusing on Jigsaw. Oh no! Something like that, but yeah, it's crazy that Saw movie now actually had focused on Jigsaw till now, which is kind of insane if you actually think about it. And Tobin Bell gives his best performance to the character. The story is actually very compelling and actually have Tobin Bell's character actually having reasons to, screw these people, considering they kind of screwed him. You get some of the most memorable traps in the entire series. And it's just an incredibly emotional movie that has some pretty incredible moments. I'm not sure if the next Saw movie, considering I think the Blumhouse body is going to deliver as great as this, but Saw X, the fact that it actually ended up being my favorite of the franchise is pretty surprising. Then with The First Omen, which is a prequel to The Omen, one of the most celebrated horror movies of the 70s. Like, what can you really tell with that, honestly? And the movie ended up being as, a lot more scary than you would expect, actually, for a film called The First Omen. Like, I don't have much to say upon that, but the movie shockingly surprised me how good it ended up being to where it pretty much feels like the Rogue One of horror. Like, basically a film that feels like it's the perfect opinion to that original movie, where it doesn't do anything that really deteriorates from that original movie. And actually, like, films in nicely to that original movie. So, yeah, two horror movies that I was not excited for at all, and they both rather surprised me. Yeah, I'm outside here because as I'm filming this, I'm about to head to like a mystery movie screening, so I might as well be a little different. And I'm talking about two movies here, and that's because these movies actually are films that came out actually this year, actually. Films I really had much attention going to are films that, one film I had no anticipation for, and one's a film I really had no idea was coming out, and it wound up being debated to be my favorite year. The first one is the film I had no anticipation for, and that is the Naked Gun. Then we have the Naked Gun, which is the reboot of Naked Gun, which this time stars Liam Neeson. Again, I've not seen Naked Gun movies in a while. I have not gotten a chance to rewatch those movies as of yet. The title, I don't remember that though. Honestly, I do remember that I'm actually pretty good, honestly. So, but doing a reboot, I was like, really? Rebooting the Naked Gun of all things? And then I watched it, and it wound up being one of the funniest movies I have seen in quite a while. That's going to just ways that it's one of the funniest movies that's come out in a very, very long time. And that's pretty much true, honestly. Liam Neeson turns out he can actually do comedic stuff pretty well, actually. Again, it does have that type of humor that you expect from this type of series to do, but it does it in a very effective way while having a nice story and some solid characters. Again, in terms of story and characters, not going to blow you away, but it delivers what a comedy should do. Make you laugh. And that's what it does. And the second movie on top about is the movie that I'm probably going to talk about a few times on the channel, probably, and that is K-Pop Demon Hunters. Yeah, K-Pop Demon Hunters. A movie that is basically now a big sensation and one of the most popular movies in recent memory. It's one that people tend to forget that actually kind of came out of nowhere. I don't think anybody even knew this movie was coming out. Again, it might be a different me, correct me if I'm wrong on that. Did you? Definitely let me know if you guys knew this movie was coming out. Well, I didn't, and it ended up being the second of two Sony Picture animation movies coming this year. The second one obviously being that Fixed movie with Jenny Tartakovsky, which I did post a review on as well if you want my thoughts. But basically, I really had no anticipation for this movie going into it. I wasn't sure what to expect. And as a films right now, it's actually my most rewatched movie of the year so far. I've seen like 3 or 4 times since it came out. A movie that basically just silly as the premise and tells with a K-pop group fighting demons, but having its own actually fun lore to it, and having some nice metaphors and some nice messaging to go through as well. Again, I was not expecting that from a movie called K-Pop Demon Hunters. Also, the soundtrack is on freaking fire. I mean, obviously, as I'm filming this, there are like 3 songs on the soundtrack that was on the Billboard Hot 100, honestly, and one that reached number 1 actually. So that's how popular this movie is when 3 songs are in the top 10. That's when you know this stuff. And again, and all the songs are freaking bangers. I'm not gonna lie on that. They're absolutely freaking bangers. And anyway, considering me, I know listen towards and obviously Sony Picture Animation always have a shaky strap against Spider-Man. Obviously, they have the Spider-Man movies. So yeah, I'm definitely surprised how much I enjoy this. Again, right now, it's actually the debate between Superman as my favorite movie of the year so far, and that's something I definitely was not expecting what puts it on this list. And now we get to the last 2 movies on the list, and these are the movies that basically, came to mind, and like the previous 2 entries I'm probably gonna go separately, but these are the 2 movies that I really thought about when it's about what are the most surprising movies of 2020 so far. And the first movie I'm going to discuss is Transformers 1. Yeah, let's face it, I'm pretty sure no one was excited for Transformers 1 when it was announced. Or at least after the first trailer came out, where people thought, yeah, this movie's going to suck, honestly. Even I thought it was going to suck. That was going to be like a cheesy, a very childlike, a very just film that has going to have terrible humor, that's going to be like Marvel-esque humor, and was going to have an interesting story to tell. Literally, I'm pretty sure we all thought that going into it. Even I thought that, honestly, and I'm someone that actually likes Transformers. And movies are definitely very rocky in that, but we all know that Transformers was not going to be the greatest thing. And then Transformers 1 ended up coming out, and it might be the best Transformers movie that we have gotten. Which means Bumblebee was probably the best one, honestly, and I definitely debated between this movie and Bumblebee for a bit. But yeah, Transformers 1 is my favorite, honestly. Again, it really sucks we're not going to get like a continuation of this from what we've been told. But again, that's kind of more on the marketing, honestly, because like I said, the marketing is kind of why this movie ended up not doing so well, because, it kind of sucked. It really sucked. But yeah, Transformers 1 was a surprise hit, actually. Most because it actually has no human characters, actually focuses on the actual Transformers themselves, and it had a surprisingly compelling narrative. It was simple, cliche, and I'm not gonna lie on that. It's still done in a very effective way, where they do a great job in building the bond between Optimus and Megatron. They actually do a great job of building the bond between both characters, and giving you actually compelling reasons to why both characters end up turning on each other, and why they become like the end of the Even side characters are actually pretty well done as well. The humor is not as in your face as you would expect. I mean, you get the occasional joke miss here and there, but when the movie hits hard with the heart and emotion, it really hits. Again, even I was surprised by that, how well it hits with the heart and emotion of this movie. And overall, put a big grin on my face. Overall, again, and considering how bad the marketing was for this movie, it's surprised the movie ended up being as good as it was. Again, it actually ended up being the best Transformers Wars movie, and again, also made my top 10 best movies of last year as well. I believe it was number 9, but I think I switched to number 8, honestly. Yeah, I was not expecting it to transform this movie to be as good as it was, or to be the best Transformers movie, but here we are. Again, it's definitely disappointing we're not going to get an actual continuation of Transformers 1, but this at least proves that, hey, when you actually focus on the actual Transformers, we can make an actual good Transformers movie. And Bumblebee was the only exception, and maybe the first one as well, but the others, yeah. And the last film we'll be talking about on this list, and this film I would say is the definitive most surprising movie of 2020 for me, and that film, my friends, is Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Which again, just surprised me how good this movie actually ended up being. I bet you nobody expected Puss in Boots: The Last Wish of all films to be as good as it ended up being, but and here we are. I guess because when the movie was actually coming out, honestly, people were like, really? A Puss in Boots sequel coming out in 2022? When the last movie came out in 2011, which is insane if you really think about it. I mean, the first movie wasn't bad, honestly, by any means. Like, I actually enjoyed it probably more than most people. But yeah, I can admit that. Yeah, and plus, sequel's been done with for a while. Usually those films usually end up being the best track record when it comes. And usually films where no one film how usually don't have the best track record, so that certainly doesn't help either. Anyone else didn't help us that the film was released around when Avatar 2 came out, so that didn't help me as either. The film wasn't going to be a bit on the radar, and it was, but then the film came out, and people were like, holy shit, this movie ended up being good. And lo and behold, the movie actually ended up being pretty good. Yeah, look, the movie ended up being like one of the best anime movies to come out in recent memory. And again, one for a bit, it did only on number 19 on my actual best list that year. The more I really thought about the movie itself, the more I just absolutely adore it. The more that I was like, holy shit, this film's actually amazing and incredible. It's probably the film's actually now my favorite film of the decade so far. Yeah, that's probably number one, because it actually ended up being my favorite movie of the decade so far. And if you guys saw my top 100 best films of all time list that I did last year, this film had to be in my top 20. I am dead serious on that. But yeah, I don't think I need to say more about it hasn't already been said already. I mean, the characters are fantastic. Puss in Boots is the most compelling it's ever been. The animation is breathtaking. The characters are incredible. The action is amazing. The villains are just wonderful. Definitely one of the most memorable antagonists in the recent film history. I feel like so many great back and forth moments, so many outstanding moments. Like, you have a love of my every single second of this movie. The music is great as well, and has probably the most realistic portrayal of anxiety I've ever seen in a Puss in Boots movie. So yeah, that alone is 1%. No, I might do my own stuff if maybe that's somewhere down the road, but yeah, this is definitely up there with the first few Shrek movies. That's some of my favorites of all time. It's one of the best things that DreamWorks has ever done. Yeah, DreamWorks proves that when they have the right script and the right footing, they come to all-time favorites. Why does DreamWorks have to be so many? Me and DreamWorks, why do you have to be so inconsistent? Like, me and DreamWorks, why in the hell do you have to be so inconsistent sometimes? Seriously? Well, guys, that's it. Those are my, I think, of the 10 best, most surprising movies 2020s. Again, I'm planning to do a few other like 2020s lists as well. So, definitely know what film surprised you the most. What films I didn't mention that also surprised you the most. I would love to know down below in the comment section. Again, I plan to do underrated at some point, just supporting. I might do a part 2 of this. I'm planning to do say for animated and superhero movies and maybe comedies and just anything I can think of. So, definitely a lot. Again, I just feel like doing a lot of these. So, definitely let me know which ones you want to see down below. I am Samuel Samuel Productions. I will see you next time. As always, stay cool, everybody. Peace.